Voice on YourIowa.com is brought to you by the Commission on U.S. Territories, striving for equal representation around the globe, and by Keep Iowa First, committed to keeping the Iowa caucuses the first in the nation contest in selecting the presidency of the United States. And now, here's your host, Brent Roske.
Good morning, everybody. It is Monday, February 22nd, and it's going to be 39 degrees today, which if you are around here is actually warm weather. So go take a walk today. It's going to be up to 45 tomorrow, which feels downright balmy. What you're seeing up there on the screen, I'll click back to it in a little bit, but it's the new tiny house community in North Hollywood, California. Very excited about that. Just opened up, and we love things like that, trying to solve problems creatively. Up on today's program, my buddy Steven Adams produced this movie, Rodney King, on Netflix, a fantastic film. He also produced a Huey P. Newton story. Both of those films were directed by Spike Lee, produced by Steven Adams, and Steven is going to be on this program in just a couple minutes. Very excited to have him on today. Gina Belafonte, there she is with her dad, Harry Belafonte. They run a group called Sankofa.org. Gina will be on this show on Thursday, chatting about that group, different things. These are all my small way to honor Black History Month. So very grateful to Gina for coming on the program. And then on the 1st of March, there he is, State Representative Ross Wilburn with Vice President Harris. Mr. Wilburn was just elected as chair of the Iowa Democrats. He's going to be on the 1st, March 1st. So all that and more. And if you missed Friday's interview with Jennifer Farmer, there's her book, First and Only, a great conversation with Miss Farmer about her new book, Social Justice, her PR background, all that and more. You want to check that out. I'm sure you've heard that the Perseverance has made it to Mars. I like their Twitter feed. Hobbies, photography, collecting rocks, and off-roading. This is one they just posted here. Ingenuity, the Mars helicopter that I carry. They're writing this in the first person. There it is. So they brought a helicopter up there. It's currently charging its solar batteries, but if it survives the next couple days, they're actually going to try to put it up in the sky, which I think is fantastic. They're going to try to fly a small helicopter up on Mars. And again, what you're seeing up on the clip here, this is that new tiny house community in North Hollywood. The zoning is usually the challenge in things like this. How do you get cities on board with something like this? So we're going to be talking construction with Jared Harrison with R3 Construction, based out of here in Des Moines, in just a little bit. But a different Harrison is in the news today. Jasmine Harrison. Look at this, folks. So Jasmine Harrison, I can't even believe that this is what she's done, but she rode across the Atlantic. She arrived yesterday. She is now the youngest female to have ever done it. And folks, she did it by herself. There's another picture. CNN's reporting 21 years old. She just rode that little boat from Spain to Antigua. That's 3,000 miles. She completed the Talisker Whiskey Atlantic Challenge. And folks, she just rode that boat for 70 days. That's right, 70 days. Along the way, she had almost a near collision with a big old cargo ship. She had 2 capsizes. She flipped the boat over, and she said lots of peanut butter and Nutella were consumed. She is from the town of Thirsk in North Yorkshire, England, and she hopes to inspire other people that going it alone at things is okay. She's already raised $20,000 for charity, so nice work to Jasmine Harrison. But now for another Harrison local, here he is, Jared Harrison. There he is. Hey, thanks for coming on the show today, Jared. Oh, hold on.
Oh, there we go.
All right, I love you. I can hear you.
Man, if only Jasmine was like a relative, we'd have the perfect show.
The Jasmine and Jared Harrison show. So Jared Harrison is with R3 Construction, kind enough to come on the program today. Why don't you kind of give people a background of where you're based, how long you've been in business, and what you do over there?
Yeah. So our West Des Moines office opened up around November. We moved in. Our corporate office is in Davenport, Iowa, about 2.5 hours east of here. The owners of our company have kind of slowly been putting this together for probably 8-10 years. One of them went to construction management school or got a construction management degree, master's level, has been working for major corporations for a decade. The other one is business law and accounting. And then the other one is a master builder that's been physically working with the unions for over a decade. So these three brothers kind of got together and COVID was kind of the responsible party for getting it together when it happened. We had been trying to organize something for a while. And when COVID hit, my industry was just like shut down. So basically everybody suddenly had a bunch of free time that could make the move to Iowa. I'm from Texas originally. And we were able to just hit the ground running last April. We've done almost 1,000 projects in the last calendar year. And we've got offices in Hiawatha, over by Cedar Rapids, like I said, Davenport, Florida, and West Des Moines.
1,000 projects?
Roughly,
and
yeah.
what are those? What types of stuff are you building, Jared?
So we're primarily, obviously we had a lot of storms this year in Iowa. We've had some hailstorms, and the derecho was just a very unique situation. And we primarily do storm restoration for residential and commercial properties. But we also do build from the ground up, and we also offer, cash bids on any regular, improvements that somebody wants to make. But with the storm seasons, the way it's just kept us tremendously busy over the last several months. I mean, even with the snow, we're still scraping snow off of roofs and patching repairs and doing all kinds of stuff right now.
That's really interesting. So if someone has a storm damage to their house, they should call up R3, and then what happens? I suppose you guys send out someone to inspect and get a bid going. What's the process?
So we're like red carpet. We like to start at the very beginning. So if somebody's curious what's going on with their home or a storm blows through, we come out, we do a free inspection. We'll take photos, videos. We show them everything going on with their roof. I want them to understand what's going on, so that way they have some ownership over what's going to happen next. What happens next is if there's enough damage to their home, we'll file an insurance claim with them, meet with their adjuster, help to fight to get it approved if necessary. Sometimes insurance companies don't want to just give you what you deserve right away. And we take it from start to finish. So from the initial inspection, which is complimentary, whether we find damage or not, all the way through the insurance claim and the actual project being built itself.
It's interesting you should say that. You have insurance on a house, but that process can be pretty daunting to folks. Yep. Engaging with the insurance company. How does that process usually go?
It varies. All the insurance companies are going to be dramatically different in the way the claims will finish out. I'll throw an instance out. Like one of my friends has a busted pipe in Texas right now. And he asks me, should I file an insurance claim? His deductible's $1,000 and he's got maybe $2,000 worth of damage, and he's capable of replacing it himself. And I was like, I don't really like to spend $1,000 to just get $1,000. So you may not want to file that claim. With roof claims, specifically what we do, roof siding and gutter work, we'll file a claim over the phone with the catastrophe team. It takes 5 or 10 minutes. It doesn't take very long at all. Anywhere from a few days. In West Des Moines, it could be a few days. In other outskirt areas, it could be a few weeks. You'll get an inspection with an adjuster from the insurance. They'll come by, and most of the time they're going to do a thorough job taking a look around, to be honest. A lot of people say, well, this guy didn't get on my roof and this guy just drove by my house. And I've seen it happen. It really does happen. But most of the time your insurance company will send an adjuster out. They'll do a thorough inspection. If they don't, we're there to make sure that they do. And if they don't, then we can follow up with the insurance later. But once your claims are paid out, or once they decide they're going to pay for something, that's where your policy will kick in. And depending on the type of policy you have, maybe they're going to pay for the full replacement. Maybe they pay for an actual cash value amount. It really just depends on the policy that you have.
Real quick, Texas, your buddy had his pipes freezing. It's just nuts. It was colder in Texas than it was in Anchorage, Alaska. What other reports are you getting from down there, folks battling with the cold?
Well, my mom lost power and she had 2 pipes burst. So she got power about maybe a day and a half later. And, she's blankets and wears layers. She's not complaining. She's like, it's cold, big deal. Other people are like, oh my God, it's 40 degrees in my house and I don't know what to do. And it's just like mind blowing, how comfortable we get down in Texas with those 80s, 90s, and 100s. And then when you get some 30s and 40s, you're freaking out about it.
So how long have you been up here in Iowa, Jared?
I landed in Iowa last April, right after that April 7th hailstorm that hit the Quad Cities area.
Oh, sure. And what's your report so far? What grade does Iowa get?
I like Iowa. I'm from Houston originally. I ran my own business there for almost 15 years. I'm used to a lot. And I like this West Des Moines area. It's growing. It's not too big. There's plenty to do. I like to be outdoors. My fiance and I, we like to go outside, bike, ride, hike, things like that. There's a lot of that to do around here.
I love it. My wife and I lived in Southern California for almost 17 years, and West Des Moines is now home to us. So welcome, and thank you for coming on the show today. R3 Construction, if people want to learn more, what's the website?
They can go to www.recoverrestorerebuild.com, or they can look us up on Facebook or Instagram.
Jared Harrison is with R3 Construction. Thanks so much for being on the show today, buddy.
Take care. Y'all have a good day.
Folks, don't go anywhere. We're going to have producer Steven Adams on next. He produced the film Rodney King on Netflix. But first, we've got a partnership with the United Nations Commission on Refugees, and we're going to have one of their folks on next week. But in the meantime, here's a video that they sent us, giving some background about what they do and how they started.
When the crisis raised, all my dreams has been destroyed.
Yo nunca pensé salir de mi país.
Ile yote ilituogopesha sana na mpaka hivi tulikimbia mikono wazi.
Welcome back to the program. Our next Folks, welcome back to the program. Our next guest, I've just been a big fan of this guy for a long time. Our paths crossed many times when we were in Los Angeles. Very grateful to have Steven Adams on the program, all the way from Los Angeles, beautiful, sunny LA. How are you doing, Steven?
I'm doing well.
It's always great to see you. You are one of the busiest people working in show business right now.
I take my cues from James Brown.
Exactly. So, Steven, you've not only produced films, you've produced visual effects stuff. You've produced one of my favorite projects you've done is with an actor who I know just a little bit, Roger Gwenvere Smith. You did the Rodney King project with him on Netflix, which I just love that project. Before we talk about other things, how did that one particularly come together? It was a stage play, is my understanding, that Roger was doing, and then you folks adapted it to Netflix. Is that right?
That is correct. I mean, Roger's probably one of the most unique solo performers in the world, really, truly, and I mean that literally. The guy and I've worked together since the mid '90s, which is astonishing to me at this point. We came together, and he had a lot of ideas about things he wanted to do. He wanted to do a show about Huey Newton, the founder of the Black Panther Party. And it was great for me because I was from the Bay Area, and I knew, I remember Huey Newton as a child and seeing him around the community and all the things that he did. And so I thought that was a great opportunity. And we wound up developing that show, touring around the world. And then we got Spike Lee to direct the piece for Stars. It was the first piece of original content for Stars. And, that really kind of did all sorts of things for everybody. It was in 52 festivals. It won a Peabody. It traveled, the festival circuit for 3 years. It was crazy. Wow. And, kind of really put me on the map as a producer, in a realm outside of theater. And it really opened up the doors for film and television, which, I continue to do today. So, yeah. And the Rodney King piece, was something Roger did on stage for, as a memorial, a one-off memorial to Rodney King, who had recently died, tragically in a drowning in a pool. And the show wound up having this uncanny resonance with social media capturing police violence against Black men. And it wound up taking on a life of its own. And we wound up touring that one around the world, and then Spike Lee directing that piece, but this time for Netflix. So that was the story. And it was, again, a tremendous experience. We shot that outside in New York on a 103-degree day. It was so crazy. Wow. With, Spike's signature, 20-plus cameras. And, it was amazing to watch him direct those cameras live and, capture these nuances of this performance and really reveal it in a way that was not necessarily, it captures the stage experience, but it gives you, it actually puts the viewer almost like they're in a dance with the performance, which I thought was a really beautiful way that, to capture this thing.
The Rodney King event now is more than 20 years past, and it seems like videotapes, sadly, of young Black men experiencing violence at the hand of police officers, it just doesn't seem to be slowing down. I mean, you've been that project, it's been around for a while, but obviously this is nothing new. What are your thoughts where we're at right now as a country?
Well, I think that it's time for us to admit a few things about ourselves, that this is a pattern that we have employed, or this is a method of suppression that we've employed since slavery. It has its roots in slavery. The United States is so involved with racism, particularly racism as lethal racism against Black people, that it doesn't even see it anymore. It's just sort of interwoven on many, many levels, and it's automatic, and it's frightening, to consider, that people are murdered on a regular basis with impunity. And it's only because of race. I'm not saying that people are not committing crimes, but do they need to be executed as a result of it? No. Or people who are innocent, or, we just saw a 5-year-old girl pepper sprayed in her eyes because she was difficult. I'm like, the country has to reckon with what its feelings are about Black people. And I say Black people because this happens to other people, but specifically it's violence leveled against Black people. And the question is not one that I can answer because it's not my personal, I'm this subject of it, not the object of it, if you know what I'm saying. So it needs to, or rather the object of it, not the subject needs to figure out what the evolution is. It's a big question, and it's one that people have to ask themselves. What are they doing to solve it? What are they doing to do more than being upset by it? What laws are you changing? What punishment is in store for those who break these laws?
It was just so stark on January 6th, watching the treatment of the rioters outside of the Capitol, as opposed to, say, the demonstrations in Portland or Seattle or Minneapolis, and just, you know, how in one scenario they it seemed the authorities were ready for a war, and at the Capitol on January 6th, it seemed like they were treating it like a summer music festival. And I just thought that was an incredible stark illustration of how there's two different systems of justice here.
Without a doubt. I mean, you know, in Portland, by the way, you know, is a left-wing, you know, sort of outpost. It's so far left and so far right in some ways, they almost meet in some crazy way. But it's seen as a threat to someone, and there's a response to it that's quite violent and quite extreme. And, you know, you can contrast what happened in Washington, where people were literally storming the Capitol to prevent the seating of a president with little to no resistance. You know, you contrast that with, you know, the pre-response to Black Lives Matter demonstrations, where, you know, the force was lethal and aggressive from the very beginning. And it's like, before anybody even did anything, it was just presumed that it was going to be that way, and almost made it come true. So, yeah, I think we're, if we have eyes, we're seeing it all. And the question again becomes, what is going to be done about it? Are we going to tolerate this? Are we going to let this continue, or are we going to do something about it?
Is there, and this is by no means trying to look for a silver lining in any of this, but is there, I've had this conversation with folks here in this state about with there actually being free communication now. And by free, I mean, you know, anyone can tweet, anyone can put on Facebook, anyone can film something on their phone, as we saw in the tragic death of George Floyd. But does that start to open up a new era of, now at least that the facts are getting out there? Is there more opportunity for different types of projects in the entertainment industry? Is there more opportunity for folks in the workplace? Are you starting to sense any sort of shift, or are we still going to be in the mud for a while, do you think?
Well, I think we've got centuries of work to undo, so it's going to take a while. It's going to take more than what is happening right now, but I do applaud what is happening. I think it's a step forward. I think the storytelling is changing. I think participation of different kinds of people is shifting. I look at the numbers of executives of color, female executives, people of other gender identification, all these things that were 20 years ago were unheard of. People were still hiding those things or diminishing those things, or just not accepted because of those things. You know, the number of agents of color 20 years ago was, you could probably count them on your hand. Same thing with managers, same thing with studio executives. Most of the people of color that I knew were outside of that system. I came up in the agency system, I think it was one of 5 trainees in the whole town. That was not white. It's crazy.
Yeah, you've been, I think we're close to the same age. And
400?
What's that?
400 or 500? I can't remember.
I'm 26.
Okay.
But so you've definitely seen, as I saw a little bit, I've been here back in the Midwest for a few years now, but how do you see the entertainment industry shifting over the last 15, 20 years, other than what you just said?
I think the entertainment industry has slowly been changing the entire time I've been here. I've seen it go from being the classic Hollywood system that I was kind of had my early training in, where it was literally studios and networks, agencies, and then independent films. That's it. And if you wanted to access one of those things, you had to go through the channel. You know, there was no social media. There was no way to promote yourself outside of being inside of the system. So it was very closed. And it really did not change in my mind in a significant way until maybe 10, 12 years ago, when social media started to happen, when people began to be able to take matters into their own hands and tell their own stories and, you know, put things out there. I don't think you would have had, say, an Issa Rae 15 years ago. She wasn't possible. She was made possible by the internet. Doesn't mean that storytellers that were equally talented weren't there before. They just had to go through the system, and the system wasn't interested.
Yeah.
So I love all that.
And so now let's jump into your career. You've had an applauded and varied career, again, visual effects to producing to, like you said, theater productions brought to the screen. Now that you are in a stage in your career that you can, people come to you with exciting things, and you don't, every producer starting out, you just got to hustle from scratch. But you're obviously a highly regarded person.
You got to hustle even when you're highly regarded.
Copy that. What type
Wake
of
up running, as they say.
The hustle never dies.
Yeah.
What sort of projects are you gravitating toward right now?
I have always had a very international interest, and again, I feel like it's a moment. My moment is really now. If I'm going to be honest, I think that the things I've always wanted to do weren't really interesting to the system I found myself in. But now it's an asset because of the impact of streamers, and specifically Netflix. We've literally had in a very short time very strong internationalization of viewers' taste. People used to always say, "Oh, no, Americans don't like subtitles. They won't watch that. It's foreign. If it's foreign, it's going to be in a small theater where 50 people that wear glasses will go and see it, and and talk about it in a cafe." But now you have, one of the number one shows on Netflix is Fauda, which is Hebrew and Arabic. One of the number two shows, I would say they're number one and number two in a way there because they vary, is La Casa de Papel, Money Heist, which was conceived of as a local language Spanish series that was acquired by Netflix, slept on the network for a little while, and then the Netflix effect, people said, well, that algorithm started putting this into other people's, you like action adventure, you like this, give this a shot, and people did, and look what happened. It's crazy. And so it's creating this new set of opportunities where people are actually now, and also I think there's a bit of a boredom with retreads of the fifth remake of whatever. People want to see something they haven't seen before. It's we're at peak viewership, so why not take a little adventure? It's fun.
Is pitching the streamers significantly different than when you were pitching, say, a traditional a motion picture project? Is going after them now different? Are they all just looking for series content, or what's different?
Yeah, I think that the emphasis in general in Hollywood is on series right now, and it had been going that way for a while. I think that the independent world was very threatened for a minute, and then streamers kind of came in and occupied that space that indies the independent distributors used to occupy. Mm-hmm. So there was a lot of fear that world was disappearing, and then when the streamers came in, people got angry. It's like they're taking over. I'm like, they're saving something, because I think that those kinds of small indie voices are finding a home now in streamers, and I think that's great. And actually larger audiences too, which is exciting. And because you can be pushed by an algorithm to places that you can't go when you're in 5 theaters or 20 theaters around the world.
And tell folks about your project Redemption Day. This is an incredibly unique film. I was wondering if you could tell folks a little bit about that.
Yeah, that came about because I worked with the actor Gary Jordan, and we were approached to put him into this film, which is shot in Morocco. And, that appealed to my international senses. I'm like, yes, of course, this is great. So we came on board also as producers and really helped to move this project forward. Once Gary was on board, we were able to attract a great cast. And, Gary is shredded beyond belief. The guy looks like he's been doing action films his entire life. It's crazy. And, it was also an opportunity for him to kind of demonstrate some things about PTSD that he wanted to, portray in this film and put some light on that issue for soldiers. So, I'm very proud of what we were able to do. And the film looks great. The writer-director is a very talented guy. I think many, many more things are going to come from him. Sean Haji. And I don't know what else to tell you, but I'm excited about what's next for that combo. I feel like once you do a film with someone, you kind of become, if things go well, you become family.
If things go well, I tell people making a project with them, it's almost like if you took your immediate family and you said, okay, now we're going to go into business,
right?
An 18-hour-a-day business for 3 months to 2 years, and we'll see if everybody still likes each other at the end.
Exactly.
So if you found a team that everybody still gets along and you got a good project, well,
it's intense. It's intense. I mean, it's like you're going to war and you're having a family reunion.
Exactly. And Stephen, how can folks see that?
Well, right now it's streaming everywhere. So I think just if you type in Redemption Day, you're going to get information. You can see it everywhere.
It's a very good movie. It's so well made, great action sequences, and the performance of your lead is fantastic in that. Rodney King is still playing at Netflix.
Still on Netflix.
Other projects,
absolutely.
And you did a horror short called Thirst, right?
Yes, that was part. I'm on the board of the Holly Shorts Film Festival here in LA, and the Holly Shorts Film Festival is 17 years old now.
Yeah,
and it's Oscar qualifying. And my role with that festival is to sort of do strategic planning and help them to grow their footprint. So I was like, well, let's start a production arm of the festival, kind of along the lines of Sundance. And so that arm is called 88th Street, and that is set up to collaborate with short filmmakers who come through the portal of Holly Shorts. And there are 6,000 submissions a year, and you can imagine. Yeah, it went from 4 to 6. It's gone from that 2,500, and then the Oscar qualification has made it. It's considered to be one of the world's top festivals, short festivals. Wow. So it gets like super high quality of entrance. And so our job is to mine that, find people who want to collaborate with us, and make films with them. And so this particular deal was with Disney to do their 31 days of Halloween. And then these shorts would also be set up to possibly be fully features. And of course, the pandemic came along, so they were only able to do 13. And so we did one of those 13 films. And so Thirst is from a very talented young director named Stefan Dezil, who has just created an atmosphere, a dystopian atmosphere that you just get immediately sucked into. And it's, it's kind of like Quiet Place, where this situation is that you can't make noise and you can't perspire because there are these zombie-like creatures who are attracted to water and any kind of moisture. So even speech can attract them, and they will drain the liquid from you and leave you as a husk. So that's what you're up against.
It's a creepy little movie. I mean, I'm watching it on a small screen, and there are a couple jumps in there. It's a creepy little movie. Great sound design in it. Great, some special effects. I'm not going to spoil anything, but you see a couple of the creatures, and I mean, it really does jump out at you. And the thing is, it's a daylight horror film as well that still makes you jump. So nice job to you and the filmmakers.
Daylight horror. I can take no credit for the creativity. That is Stefan. He is amazing, but it is. You're right. The horror by daylight is a special thing because generally it's like nothing's scary with the lights on. But
yeah, it was neat. I really enjoyed it, and I enjoy all your projects. Stephen Adams is at altaglobalmedia.net. Thanks so much, buddy. Great seeing you again. I miss
you too. I
think the last time I saw you was actually at the Cannes Film Festival a couple years back.
I think you're right. We missed that, but we'll be back.
I can't wait. I keep having these daydreams about setting up at the American Pavilion, setting up this show, having nice little table and a little set built, and having folks like yourself come in after the yacht party, come in, be on the program. We all go get some dinner. I have these daydreams all the time. So one day, buddy, we'll do it.
It'll happen. It's just, maybe not this year.
Stephen Adams, thanks so much. And viewers, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back with more of the show. Don't go anywhere.
There's a new spin on casual dining near Drake University. Lucky Horse Beer and Burgers. Craveable faves, flatbreads, delicious burgers, frozen cocktails, and a crazy cool vibe. Get to Lucky Horse Beer and Burgers today.
Folks, that is our program for today. Thank you for being with us. we're going to have Iowa business leaders on all this week. And it continues up into the new year. So not new year, into the new month. It continues into March. On March 1st, Ross Wilburn, there he is. He's the new chair of the Iowa Democrats, going to be with us. On Thursday, Gina Belafonte, there she is with her dad, Harry Belafonte. They run a group called Sankofa.org. And last week, did you miss this? I do my best to actually support our guests, and so I picked up a copy of Deb Willis's book, The Black Civil War Soldier. You want to read this? It's fantastic. That is posted right now. And our Monday episode, if you missed that, of course, that was our friend Eli Addy was on, and he did the show The West Wing. He was on that show for five seasons, and he was on the program on our special President's Day episode, and that's posted up now as well. Talks about, you can see there, he was actually a speechwriter for Al Gore, and then when he literally cold called Aaron Sorkin, and he just called him up and said, "Hey, I was writing speeches and I worked on the Hill." And they had coffee, and then he worked on 5 seasons of The West Wing, went on to work on House and a bunch of different stuff. So that is posted now as well. So thank you, folks, for tuning in. Again, Iowa business leaders all this week, all next week, and we'll be having business leaders from all over the state now start joining us. And we have the West Des Moines Chamber of Commerce partially to thank for that. They ran a note to all of the chamber members, inviting them on the show. And that's why we had Mr. Jared Harrison on this morning from R3 Construction. So Jared, welcome to Iowa from Texas. And viewers, thank you for watching. And we will see you right back here tomorrow morning, bright and early. We'll see you then.